What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Final Whistle. No matter how you're tuning in, whether you're listening on our audio platforms or on our visual platforms, welcome back to another episode. I appreciate you showing us some love. Today, we're getting into a topic that I think hits home with a lot of the sports community. And just the looming question right now is modern sports better or worse than ever? Obviously, with globalization, sports are more accessible to more people in many different countries, but it's also being monetized in good and bad ways on all levels. So we're going to get into all of that today. Please don't make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video. It helps us continue to make videos like this. And then make sure to follow us on all platforms at X's and O's Debate Show. Let's get right into it. So for segment one, let's start off with college sports. NIL and the transfer portal is crazy. It's the Wild West. Obviously, NIL has created so many opportunities for athletes, more opportunities than they ever had before, especially pre NIL when they weren't making any money from all their hard work and sacrifices to be a college athlete. So it's opened up many doors for them. You can start off with the female athletes as well. Definitely, you've seen a huge increase in a lot of the participation when it comes to NIL. It's actually a 123% increase over the past year, which is something that is mind blowing to see their revenue going up. Especially, just over the course of history, women's sports hasn't gotten the notoriety that male sports have gotten. So, big props to them. But at the same time, the transfer portal has essentially created free agency in college sports. If you're a college sports fan, you have mixed feelings about the transfer portal. If it works in favor for your university or for your team, obviously you care about it and you want it to continue, but it also has downsides. It's created free agency basically, and it's open season every year. Coaches talk about how they have to re-recruit players. Even after you recruited them out of high school or recruited them out of the portal, you feel like at any point in time a player can get upset and just say, I'm out. And so I think that's something that needs to get under control because if not, it's just going to be the Wild West and people are going to be all over the place. It's not going to be brand loyalty, team loyalty, coach loyalty. I mean, really at this point, NIL has created a situation where players are loyal to the money aspect of the game rather than actually playing for the passion, which is a push and pull as well. You can't count somebody else's pockets, and I definitely want people to get paid for their services, but money does sometimes take out the love of anything that you add it to. Now, you also have coaches, on the other hand, that are consistently prioritizing the transfer portal over high school recruits. This is something that absolutely drives me crazy, and it's demoralizing for any high school kid to have to compete with someone that's been in college athletics for 2, 3, 4, or 5 years. Let's say you have the average high school player, you coming out of high school, you're 18, you may be 19 if you reclassed, but now you're going up against a kid that has been in college for 3 years. Now he's 22. If I'm a coach, why would I take a 19-year-old kid coming out of high school that's never been in a collegiate program that I have to groom versus I can pick up this kid in the transfer portal and he's already ready right now? The problem is every coach is thinking like that. You have coaches right now that openly say that they don't take high school players. Is that right or wrong? I mean, for me, I think it's killing the morale of high school players. A lot of high school players are looking to reclass, even reclass twice, just to try to avoid the curve. But then that's killing high school sports. So I mean, it's a trickle all the way down. So it's just we got to get some of this under control. And then last but not least in this segment, I just want to ask you all just a debate question. Have we gone too far in college athletics as far as the business side of it with NIL? And what can we do to get it under control? Because I feel like when NIL was introduced, there wasn't really any guardrails. You know how you go bowling and you have like the beginner training, the rails so you don't throw a gutter ball. I feel like we just started off with with no protection, none, and you could just do whatever you want. And I think that's a big issue in college athletics is there's no clear guidelines. Anytime a player gets upset, they can leave. They can file a lawsuit and still play Trinidad Chambliss. So it's the Wild West. It's the Wild West. I think college athletes should be paid, but college sports definitely needs more structure and regulation because at this point you can't really have people doing whatever they want. It's really not fair for players or people around them just to be able to do whatever they feel like it when they feel like it. It has to be some level of commitment. Moving on to section number two, the globalization of sports. Now, if you didn't watch the World Cup, just to give you guys some background, you definitely saw how impactful sports are across the globe. The World Cup definitely significantly increased soccer interest in the U.S. I personally haven't watched a soccer game since the last World Cup, and I watched every single United States game in the World Cup. And honestly, I felt like they had a great chance to make some noise. They made it to the round of 16, and unfortunately, just like every World Cup, we can't get past a European team. But hopefully, we can change that in 2030. But even outside of that, I was watching games every single day. Whether it was Portugal with Ronaldo or Argentina with Messi. You go to Brazil, you with Neymar, and France with Mbappe. Whoever it was, I pretty much had a game on every single day from start to finish of the World Cup, and I really loved it and enjoyed it. And you can see just the camaraderie from everyone around the world watching the World Cup be hosted by the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and it was a beautiful thing to see. Um, I think it was amazing for everyone. Major American sports leagues are also continuing to expand internationally. Obviously, the NBA has international games every year. They go to Europe, they go to Africa. The NFL is also going back to Europe as well. I think that's fantastic just to get American sports back out there. And basketball is becoming more of a global game year after year. And American football, hopefully, we can get the viewership from other countries, and maybe they'll start to play. Who knows? Um, they'll never be better than us, but the viewership is what matters. Now, the NFL is starting to learn from the World Cup and the global success as it continues to invest in global markets. As I just spoke on this last bullet point, it's really important to get the global markets. Obviously, football is the leading, American football is the number one sport in the U.S., but getting a global presence is just more money, and you can build your brand faster that way. Now, here's a debate question before we move on to segment three. Are American sports becoming more global than ever, and is that a good or bad thing? For me, I think one of the best things that's happening in sports right now is more international growth. This means more fans, this means more opportunities, this means more cultural crossover. You're seeing that more and more, and you definitely saw it in the World Cup, just for all the different cultures, all the different places, races, faces, whatever, coming all the way to the US, Mexico, and Canada to watch soccer. It was unbelievable to see. This is one of the reasons why I love sports so much, and I can't wrap my mind around someone that just sports is not a part of your life. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Moving on to segment three. Are sports becoming too reactionary? Now, I'm not gonna knock myself. I want to come on here and react to sports once a week, and you guys can listen to me ramble for 20 to 30 minutes weekly. If you listen to our other platform, Grind City Hoops, you can do it twice. So for 40 minutes, you can listen to me ramble. But for me, I don't think it's too reactionary. Sometimes it is. I think it's just like people say random things just to, get their name out there or just have 5 seconds of fame. But I think a lot of it is necessary to be able to push the agenda of whatever sport it is. Um, well, NFL quarterbacks are expected to succeed immediately this year. Obviously, you always have the big names. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got Jalen Hurts, Deshaun Watson, who's a question mark. Um, Then you got Lamar Jackson. You got a bunch of names. So I think they're all gonna be shining early on. Uh, Now you have to talk about as well just sports being a 24-hour news cycle. And sometimes even as a sports fan, maybe it's a little bit too much. But once you introduce something, you can't take it away. So the reality is, no matter how exhausting it is to see sports on 24/7, people reacting to it 24/7, I mean, it's never going to stop because it's monetized. It's just like AAU basketball. Once it's monetized, there's no going back because in America, once you see the money, it's over. So for me personally, I think there should be not a cap, but I don't think everyone should be able to have an opinion on things, and it shouldn't be 24 hours a day. But again, it's more money to be made, so it's not going to stop. And here's a debate question before we move on to our final segment. Has sports fans and organizations become too impatient when it comes to their team success? You got to think about just the pressure to win immediately. Is that hurting players? development across sports, or is it helping? Something to think about. Now we're going to get into the fun part of the show. Every show we're going to end segment four. You already know it's hot topics. First hot topic, topic number one, NFL's, I mean, not NFL, I'm sorry. NIL is here to stay. But the transfer portal needs a lot of reform and it needs a lot of restructuring. And definitely the rules need to become more clear. Obviously, the eligibility rules have changed for the NCAA. You have 5 years of eligibility. That's it. Um, which I think needed to change. But the transfer portal needs reform. That's the next thing the NCAA needs to work on is that. Second thing, soccer will continue to grow in the United States over the next decade. Obviously, we're not known for soccer here as Americans, but after this World Cup, and I think in the World Cup in 2030, we're going to be even better and go further. Hopefully, we can go past the round of 16 if we don't play a European team. Um, but I think it's going to continue to grow in popularity in the U.S. And maybe before long, we're going to be competing right with the European teams or the South American teams for the World Cup at some point. Just not right now, but I think over the next decade, you're going to see the gap start to close. Not point number three, but topic number three, hot take number three. Sports organizations are becoming way too impatient with young talent. There was a time where organizations would invest in young talent, and I think you're starting to see um, it on the college level first. I mean, college level, there was a time where you invested in freshmen, but nowadays you don't invest in freshmen. You just go get a transfer portal kid, or if your freshman is not performing, you put pressure on him to leave, or he feels like I have to leave because you're gonna go get someone else. So I think the days of you having time to develop is over. A lot of coaches and a lot of organizations, they have pressure from fan bases. If you're a university, you have pressure from fans and boosters, and you feel like you need to have a win now mentality. So as a player, you feel like you don't have any slack. You feel like you need to be able to do it right now, and if you can't, you're going to get pushed out. And finally, modern sports are better for athletes than ever before, but worse for traditional fans. Athletes have all the power. They have even more power than they ever had on all three levels. High school, you can make more money. You can go to prep school, you play AAU. Then college, you can make NIL. You can go to big schools. Then professional athletes. Hey man, they've had leverage ever since way back. You don't have to stay in one spot for a long time. You can leave for free agency. You can sit there and demand a trade. It's up to you at this point. But it hurts the traditional fan because the fan bases don't connect with players like they used to because players leave. And it's a frequent cycle of leaving. It's not like, okay, this player is here for a certain amount of time and we know, like, okay, he's played both of his career here. No, no, no. Players can leave like that and they drop like flies. So it's hard for a fan to connect with teams and players if everyone's always hopping up and leaving. Now, y'all, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Really appreciate it. Make sure you guys like and comment on this post. Make sure you follow us on our platforms at X's and O's Debate Show. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to help us keep making videos like this. Stay tuned for much more. So much more that I want to do. So much more I want to do with this platform and continue to grow it over the years. Stay tuned for new content. As always, I love y'all. I'll see y'all next week.